All right, so I'm up here at John's place. This is a bunch of material here. We can harvest all this material. There's a little material up behind me as well, which I got some pictures of. But then basically we're looking to essentially just get John through his access permit approval and the final inspection. The slopes off on the left, there's material there. You can see there's a little material there. There's a little material there on the right. There's material around here if we just kind of clean it up and go through and harvest little piles, maybe a little bit here on the left. There's some material here on the left that got thrown over the hillside, so we can pull some of that back and make this slope a little more gradual. We could also cut some of that back just a little bit and lean it back into the hill and stabilize that a little bit. Looking to have stable slopes everywhere. We will want to read the specs and the guidelines and review and refresh on those and make sure that we're going to be within the guidelines of Boulder County. John is going to ask Boulder County if they are going to require any road base going down here for a final top dressing on this driveway. You can see it's pitched into the hillside quite well. I was thinking that we want to make this slope here on the left more gradual, closer to a 33% slope, instead of what we have now is more of a 45-degree slope, so we can get that going a little bit better. But we can cut out this ditch a little bit, and there was a spot that John wanted me to look at, a culvert. I think it's right in here. This is going to be the first one that is rather shallow and not pitched very well, but I feel that this is probably pitched just fine. This culvert here, we want to see a 2% pitch on these culverts. Typically we'll probably confirm that with the engineer plans. We can cut and define this ditch a little bit better on the right hand side with the blade, generate some material that could get graded in. These culverts do have a pretty low minimal cover layer right now. You typically want to see closer to 12 inches of cover layer over the tops of the culverts. These are closer to 4 to 6 inches in most places. So we want to add a little material over the tops of the culverts. The vegetation is starting to come back, so that's good. I was almost tempted to just call Boulder County out here for a final inspection, but John didn't want to necessarily alert them to any other breaches and have them call for us to fully adhere to the engineer guidelines and the engineer plan. If we can establish 33% slope on these spots, there's a bunch of material here that we can use as well for flaring out the base of these slopes off on the left hand side. So I'd like to just go ahead and harvest any material that we can. The fence is falling down in some places. This is a catchment fence here that was put in place just to catch the tumbling rocks. So where it's being knocked over and falling down, we would go ahead and just rip that out and throw it in the trash, and then try to clean up the downslope edge of this hillside here, and basically add material to the bottom of the trench so that the slope is closer to 33% as opposed to 45%, like what it is now. The natural angle of repose for a tumbling rock slope or sand slope is 45%. So that's pretty much where this hillside has landed, or the slope on the downslope edge of the driveway. But you can see that it is quite stable. You don't see any major erosion on here because it is so rocky, but this little section of the fence is pushed down, so we would want to pull that back and then add material to the base here of this slope, so that the slope on the downslope edge of the driveway is closer to 33% as opposed to the 45. Here's another culvert coming up. We'll want to add some cover layer on there as well. Want to get 12 inches of cover. Would like to see this rock removed, and we could use some of this rock to kind of encase the catchment basin at the mouth of this culvert and dig that out a little bit if we can. At least rip at it with some sharp digging teeth, and pulling some of this soil back and trying to create a 33% slope everywhere, all up and down and along this driveway. We can carve out a little bit of a drainage ditch here that's going down to the next culvert and add any material that we can harvest to the base of this hillside so that we can get this closer to 33% slope. On the left, we want 12 inches of cover on here. You know, we can probably just pull some of the lip back on at the top of this slope here, right here, and then push it down and just cut this, and then we still have plenty of width on this driveway. This is nice and wide. And this where they took out this pull out in this passing lane and they just threw it over here. So in these sections we have lots of material that we could work with by basically just pulling some of that back and getting that slope to be the 33%. Through here as well, we could lean that back into the hillside just a little bit. We would lose a little bit of grass and vegetation, which the customer likes, but this is good topsoil and we could use that to re-veg over here on the left-hand side. The fence is in good condition over here, so if there's anything we can do to leave the fence here, that would be a good solution. We can dig out some of this and put a single course of heavy boulders at the bottom, 2 to 3 foot diameter, and have that be a little section of retaining wall. We would probably do I would say three tandems of boulders up in here, if not 4, and then this is the end of the driveway. At this point it turns into CDOT, so we would not be maintaining this portion down here. This is CDOT's access and their jurisdiction. So that's the long and short of it. That's the full rundown of this driveway. Again, I'd like to check out the Boulder County